Hello, welcome back to another episode of Ask the Doctor with Dr. Jeffrey Sherman. And today we have a very important episode talking about mental health and how to keep it during this pandemic lockdown. As of July the 2nd, the CDC reports there are 2.6 million cases of COVID-19 and 128,000 deaths in the United States. And it's very important to mention that yesterday was actually was a new record for a day of the most infections in that day, which is at 54,000 cases. The previous record holder was actually all the way back in April, and things started to slow down after that. Well, hello, welcome back to the show, Sherman.
Thank you. Glad to be here. That's 54,000 new cases yesterday in the United States, correct?
Yes, 54,000 new cases.
Yeah.
It's probably I'd say it's from a combination of restrictions being released, but then, yeah, it's a jump back.
Yeah. And certain places of the country contribute mostly to that. Florida, Texas, I think California,
California.
Big states are leading the way lately.
I mean, states with more population, that's kind of...
Big population states. And it's multifactorial on why it is. But part of it ties in to today's topic, I'd say.
Yes, because with all of the craziness going on in the news, it's very easy for us to become overwhelmed and become scared from what is going on and to become anxious. And I think it's very important Sherman, how does somebody know if they're feeling anxiety that is over what you're supposed to feel?
In part, you got the regular anxiety, but then it can take, you're getting a little bit out there when it's starting to take toll physically.
Physically.
Involuntary things like a rapid heart rate, or you feel heart palpitations even, change of, don't want to get too medical, but, changing bowel habits and abdominal pain and cramps and things like that. And then completely upside down from what you're normal, from like a sleep-wake cycle. You're not sleeping at night. Maybe you're taking a nap during the day. You're not sleeping at all much over a 24-hour period. So that's part of the physical findings when you talk about higher levels of anxiety and things that and symptoms that you're getting to a pretty, I don't want to say dangerous, but you got to look into that as a cause for those symptoms, or else other parts of your health are going to deteriorate shortly.
Exactly. A lot of this is really just how people feel. So it can be hard to very precisely pin down the threshold of anxiety that is too much or just right.
Right. I mean, anxiety comes from many areas. I mean, anxiety about the virus. Am I going to get it? If I get it, how will it manifest itself in me? Or two, I'm home. Will I have a job, after I've been, working from home or not working at all? Or, so there's, the social anxiety and the personal physical anxiety.
So we know now looking at your heart, and by your heart, you mean like the physical pumping of your heart, is recognizing if it's too irregular, or if it's beating quickly as if you were exercising, but you're not exercising.
Right.
Yeah, that's the important thing.
And it's an irregular heartbeat too. Your heart's not used to beating more quickly, and usually in the older patient where there could be a short circuiting of the electrical signal to the heart, you're worried. You got to worry about an irregular heartbeat, skipping a beat, adding an extra beat, or more unlikely but still possible, just a completely different rhythm altogether. especially in elderly folks, kicking into arrhythmias, fibrillation, or flutters and things that are, physically detrimental, can cause, congestive heart failure and a stroke and just kidney failure and things like that if it doesn't go checked out.
And those are big issues. Like those, if you feel a regular heartbeat, is that enough to call 911?
It's definitely enough to go to the ER. Do you need to call 911 for it? If you're an elderly person, get into there quicker. But yeah, I mean, if there's something you're feeling that's new, it's a 911 ER situation, especially if it's persistent. It happens a couple times and you're sitting there waiting for it to happen again, and it may not. Okay, maybe not. But if it's over the course of several hours and there's something going on, then that's something to get checked out. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I found a shocking statistic. I mean, I don't actually know if it's shocking or not, but it turns out that 1 in 5 adults in the United States have some kind of like uncomfortable mental state, and that's just what's documented. I mean, I would speculate. I would think
baseline before even a quarantine situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and that was before quarantine, so certainly those numbers are up.
Yeah.
And of that 1/5, 25% of those were young adults, ages 18 to 25.
Right.
Do you happen to maybe know why that is such a high prevalence there?
Well, there's a little bit of there's so much pressure in terms of young people on school and jobs and competition and social media and like that. So I think that adds to anxiety. Are we talking all mental health? I mean, schizophrenia is a young person's type of condition.
Oh, it is
very common. Mental health diagnosis, not really one for today, in the context of the COVID, but that's a young person. That's an onset early on, more or less. Schizophrenia is a 18 to 25, 28 type of onset. But I would say as well, and then you sprinkle in the usual things like depression, and that can come on early for various reasons: high expectations not met, the pressures of parents not met, things like that. So it's a multifactorial reason why some young people can get a variety of mental health issues.
Yeah, I mean the ages of 18 to 25, there's of course a lot of change happening, not just in the brain itself, but also just in lifestyle, because that's if you're going to go to college. I mean, that is when that happens, but you're also now a new adult, which
Right.
comes with all sorts of new problems
Very
that
stressful.
suddenly you have to deal with. And that combined with having to, get a job or maybe study in a new place in a new school, it's just a lot at once.
Jump on these problems early, get ahead of them so they don't progress further. That's what can happen if if the patient or if the individual or the loved ones around him or her are sort of in denial. You don't want
to. That's dangerous.
Something. Yeah, that can be very dangerous. You can get way far down the road with before anything is done, and then it makes it that much more difficult to treat and to counsel, and it just requires a lot more time and effort. So it's good to look into it early on. As painful as it may be to admit there may be something going on, it has to be done for the greater good. As for the young people, a lot of changes: college, relationships, friends, coming and going, moving, leaving town. A lot of weird first-time things on a young person, no less, too. It's all a perfect storm.
That's right. And so let's say somebody is feeling, not at their peak, and is there a set of activities that they can do that somewhat consistently provide making them feel better?
You always turn to to
Exercise?
exercise.
Yeah.
Outdoor, indoor, whatever you can do, cardio or not. Yoga, I'm told, is a great stress release. Um, Pilates, those stretching in place kind of activities, whether you do it in at a gym or a club or in a class or on your own, it's important to make time to do that. Walking, running, things like that. Getting enough sleep.
Yes.
Huge.
That's very
Good for
important.
the immune system, but good for anxiety and stress. Um, maybe hard to get going on that. Part of one of the physical symptoms of anxiety is, like I said, the sleep wake cycle being disturbed. Um, but it takes a little bit of effort to try to be consistent, get to sleep at a reasonable hour. Take a little melatonin if you need to help you fall asleep. Melatonin's a safe sleep aid. You won't get
Okay.
hooked on it. Melatonin 3 to 5, even in the more difficult cases, 10 milligrams. Sleep for the 6 to 8 hours overnight, and get that consistently done. And over time, with those kind of routines, the body will tend to agree with you and not
That's
stress
right.
out, and your subconscious anxiety will fade away.
I mean, a rather simple way to look at the importance of sleep is if you are forced to wake up and if you don't feel like you want to wake up, well, then that's you not feeling good
Right.
about being sleep deprived. And that will affect everything you do, from not just how you're feeling while doing things, but it also decreases your performance. So getting enough sleep will actually make day life way easier.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you may feel okay if you don't get enough sleep. You may feel okay for the first 4 to 6 hours of the day, but once 2:30 in the afternoon hits, it's no good. And then you start chasing it with coffee or something, and that just doesn't help over the long
Hmm.
haul. So it all starts with the overnight sleep, and getting that in order consistently.
And let's see. So for one big reason why the lockdown in spring, I guess I should say, and this entire situation is so detrimental to everybody is because, well, we're socially isolated from people. We're not able to physically see people and do things with other people, which is a huge part of our lives. We are social. And there are how should people, I guess, make up for that lost, I guess, mental state?
Well, there's a couple of things. What happens? I mean, you're confined to the household, so there's some single family homes. There's some larger families. You do get to have other folks interact with, but then there's the single people
Right.
who have the toughest time. Loneliness can be a real tough thing to get used to, or maybe you'll never get used to it, and it's a tough thing to do day in and day out. A lot of people have been communicating on the FaceTime, the Zoom meetings, interacting on the computer, playing games, watching shows together, watch parties, I think they're called,
Yeah.
as much as you can. But the loneliness is it's a contributing factor to depression, and that's why these tools to connect are important to use, and get a little bit interaction out there for the folks who live alone, for the folks who don't get the day to day contact with their family. Which, by the way, we can get into this later. Whenever that has its rough spots too.
Right.
Not all rosy if you're living with your family every day. That can get a little bit tricky also.
Yes, that's very true. And so on the subject of like stress and anxiety, I encountered a very interesting TED Talk led by the person named, geez, where's her name? Oh wait, I have it right here. By Kelly McGonigal. She gave a TED Talk about her research that she she saw that people who saw stress as a way of their body getting prepared for a situation and not as something that's bad actually experienced less physically damaging symptoms than people who had a strong fear and saw stress as something that they must avoid. And I thought that was extremely, extremely interesting, because that implies that like the mindset matters greatly.
Right. And I encounter patients who are, everyone says they're stressed, their symptoms, but it's their the frame of mind, the positive outlook has the less physical toll than the patients who who are a little more, I don't want to disrespect anybody, but they're a little bit more scatterbrained, or a little bit of all over the place. So the mindset on focus is a key part of how stress can physically affect somebody.
Right. And later on, Kelly McConigal even brings up oxytocin. She measured that, and she discovered, or not really, she didn't discover, but she brought up how oxytocin is also a stress hormone. It's released when you feel stress. Right. And the goal of oxytocin is to basically make you seek social help. The goal of oxytocin is to make you seek social help when you're stressed, which of course is evolutionarily based, because it's like it brings you support when you need it out in the wild. But of course, it's just mentally supportive because you get to tell someone else about your problems. Right. And that just loops us right back around to the fact that it's a lot harder to get in contact with our friends, especially if we don't have, I think, suitable technology for whatever reason, exactly. Or suitable internet.
I said those things, assuming, but you're right. A lot of people don't have access to computers and internet and things like that, or people's family lives far away, and it's hard to get in touch with them and line everybody up, and time changes and everything, and resources are limited. So, yeah, I mean, there are support groups out there locally, and that was one of the things that drove this opening up the economy kind of thing, is some of the social isolation going on, because a lot of other things can stem from that. We talk about stress, and we talk about wanting to seek company of others, but other byproducts can happen. You're stressed at home, and so drug use goes up. Recreational drug use like marijuana goes up, or other worse drugs can go up, or narcotic use can go up. Yeah, alcohol use goes up. So you're running into trouble, and then that's not good for your body either. The virus isn't good for your body, and then these other activities, because it takes stress away, isn't so good for the body. So there's a lot. So you get out and open the economy, and then the chances of those other problems, the virus may go up, but those other problems will come down.
That's right. And I mean, it's a huge balancing act, because there's all sorts of activities that are good for our health, but they are extremely risky for the spread and the life of the pandemic, which is going to happen for the next couple months at least. I mean, it's going to happen until we have a suitable vaccine and it has been safely tested, because a couple decades ago, in the 70s, there was a bad flu strain being spread among soldiers at Vietnam, and they rushed a vaccine, which caused about 300 people to become paralyzed. And that's just the dangers of rushing a vaccine, because it's really hard to get vaccines right. And that's why they're being much more cautious this time, because if they're not cautious, then because we're dealing with a scale of billions of people, it will have huge impact. So that's why we have to basically get perfect.
Got to get it right. Can't cut corners on vaccines. As painful as it is to have to wait for one, we got to get it right. We don't want to do any harm. Got to make sure it's effective. So you don't want to cut any corners and find out like something like that can happen. Yeah, if that happens, so we don't want. But yeah, it's going to be several months. We got to get it. Therapeutics too. Got to get something like that going. Something that you can take from home over 5 days to reverse the course of this virus. That'll help, the stress out too, knowing there's something out there that you can take to, equalize things. That would be a big help.
Exactly. And I think it's very important for everyone out there to realize that we are getting through this pandemic as quickly as possible, as quickly and safely as possible. We have doctors around the world working together to get this vaccine and discover treatments and unlock more of the genome of the virus. And while we wait, I think it's very important that we don't hesitate to talk to other people. I think it can sometimes, I feel like it can sometimes be a little, it can be a little nervous to do this new technology stuff.
Right.
And
it's an unknown. There's a lot of unknown. That's why the data changes day to day. It's just unknown on how the virus will respond to certain vaccine attempts. I mean, it could look good initially and it may turn, or it may look not so good initially and turn for the better.
And it's very important for anyone who's concerned about their own mental health or someone else that they know mental health it's very important that you don't hesitate to call any kind of mental health help centers or even 911 if you think someone or yourself is in very big danger.
Right. The stress, the stress of no work, loneliness, all the things we've been talking about. Yeah, the patient has to take that big step, and if they think he or she himself or herself is in trouble, to get the help, call 911 if you need to. Check yourself into a local emergency department. Let the emergency personnel take care of the right doctors to see, get evaluated, and if you need a little bit of a break by being observed for a couple of days, let them do that. Don't fight the system. It's very important to be a willing participant so they can get the diagnosis right, give you the right treatment, get in touch with the right people, the right support system, and get through this tough time. We're all in this together. Everybody handles it differently, everybody has a different level of a threshold of stress, or everybody has a different outlook on it. So this is part of it, the mental health aspect. Everybody has a different way of handling it.
Exactly. And I think that's, we've probably all heard this phrase of we will get through this, and it's almost sounds cheesy at this point, but it's extremely important because it's true. We will get through this. We are going to get through this, and we're all in this together because we are all human and we are all socially affected in the same ways from being locked down in quarantine. So just remember that there's plenty of other people that are in a situation just like you.
Right.
And if you can even contact other people and talk about being in that situation, that will improve the mental health of both of you.
Right. And knowing, for me, and just personal note, for me, knowing that everybody is in it, it's not just me, but everybody, it's a little comforting. We're all in this together. We're all, we can lean on each other. It's an outlet. Right. I'm not by myself locked up and everybody else is out there having a great time, which would
exactly
be a total disaster. We're all in this together. We can all lean on each other, and it's comfort knowing, hey, I may be asked to be talked to by somebody. I can call you. They can call me. So, it's all about support and protecting each other. And, and that's what's going to help get through it. I can't, just, look out for everybody. Just don't be so selfish is I guess my point, which
Yes.
a lot of that we can improve upon that.
Before we end our show for today, I would like to bring up the couple of things that we like to bring up all the time, which is remember to wear a mask if you do go outside or interact with other people, because it is extremely important to prevent the spread of the pandemic, because all it takes really is just one person to be unmasked and have the virus without knowing it to spread to all kinds of people if they are in large group situations.
Yeah, and many people can spread the virus. Many people who don't know they have it without a mask will spread it to other people, and they won't know they have it. And then that person who received it will go to their grandmother's house and get grandma sick.
Right.
And nobody got sick, but grandma is positive. How did that happen? She's been home because no masks were transmitted with asymptomatic younger people. And the asymptomatic younger people had no idea they had it because they didn't get tested. They had no idea, but that's what happens. So a mask is important.
Exactly. It's difficult. In some ways it's difficult, and in some ways it's not difficult to control the spread of this virus. In one way, like in the situation that you gave, it was difficult to control it because nobody was intentionally thinking about what was going on, but it just happened. But at the same time, it's actually really easy to control if everyone just wears a mouthpiece, wears some kind of mouth protection like a mask, because then that just blocks it all from happening.
Yeah, it's as straightforward as that. It's I know it's not the most fashionable thing to do, but it doesn't matter. We all doing it. Just do it. I don't understand any resistance to it. If it'll get us to the finish line sooner, do it.
Yeah, exactly. It will make everything happen faster.
Yeah.
And so before we end off the show today, brief reminders to make sure you wash your hands regularly, or use hand sanitizer when you don't have soap and water. Try to avoid NSAID drugs or ibuprofen, because those will increase your susceptibility to the virus. And be sure to social distance and all the regular things that you've been hearing. If you or someone you suspect that they have some kind of mental health issue, or you're concerned for their safety or your own safety, then feel free to reach out. You should reach out, because it's gonna make you feel better.
Yeah,
the resources are available. There are people out there for you.
Yeah,
that's the important thing to know.
Don't be afraid to have a chat. Reach out to some of the professionals. There's some MDs, of course, and then there's PhDs, and just find what may be best for you. Exactly. If you need some kind of prescription, the MDs can do that. But maybe start with just get out there and get talk to, express your feelings. Talking things out is a big anxiety release.
Talking things out. That is
exercise and yoga. Talking is a great way of releasing stress. So it could be as simple as that, and do it early if you can, because it'll save a lot of extra stress down the road.
Yeah, things will only get worse if you don't treat it. So it's important to, as soon as you feel the inclination to, go get help or seek someone else. All right. Well, that's the end of the show today. Stay safe. Next week, 3 p.m. Thursday. And until then, stay safe.